Okay, I'm here at SIOR Create 360 in Louisville with Michael Connor, market leader at Hanna Commercial Real Estate. And we'll be talking about strategies for securing high value tenants and prospects at commercial office properties. Michael, thanks so much for taking the time to speak with us.
Thanks for asking, Gabriel. Appreciate it.
Of course. So, to begin, what are some of your go to strategies for landing tenants at in demand office properties in the markets where you're active?
That's a good question. I employ a kind of multifaceted approach, and we kind of just covered it on our panel. But the way that I kind of think of lead generation and high value prospecting is kind of tapping into three different buckets. So number one is targeted outreach, and so figuring out what kind of strengths I have, resume I've built over a career, and what elements of that make me the best person to represent any given company. So how focused is my experience, how much does it align with any of these prospects, and then the next part is messaging, and kind of being able to get everyone to understand those core competencies, what makes you different, those strengths, and why you bring the highest value to them as part of a real estate transaction, or hopefully multiple transactions, and just a general kind of relationship. Complements to that are trusted referral sources and kind of who thinks of us, who gets us involved. When there's a problem on the real estate side or something that we need to solve for, who is going to advocate for you when a problem arises or something comes up. And so maintaining those trusted referral sources is huge, because they're going to be your advocates whenever you don't really have the opportunity to speak for yourself. Even bigger picture, just because SIOR is a global brand, commercial real estate has become truly a global practice, not just local market intelligence. But what pieces of content or what kind of deliverables are speaking for you, whenever you don't really have the opportunity, to speak for yourself. And so part of that is, whether it's market reports, case studies, your utilization of social media, all of those things are huge to create kind of that digital resume, which is how people interact with folks coldly, right? If they don't know you, they're not going to call you to have you tell them how good you are. So other things have to do that for you. And there's a lot more kind of depth as far as how to get that message out there and the frequency and that kind of stuff. But kind of the combination of those things, targeted outreach, continuing to feed and help those trusted referral sources. Plus, how do you kind of amplify your voice to make sure people know who you are whenever they're looking, right? So kind of a balance of those three things.
Yeah, and in this increasingly automated world, the people skills are just so important.
Yep.
Still.
Yeah, it definitely is. And so a lot of the automation, so long as it's done thoughtfully, gives you more opportunities to have that in-person interaction, because time is valuable, right? So you could either spend time crushing a bunch of emails and trying to do kind of mass distribution on your own, or you can work on your content that also sharpens your axe as a practitioner, knowing the data, distributing that message in a way that people can engage with or search for at their time, but it frees you up to do more of the intentional outreach, to do some of the more strategic work that does require some in-person engagement. And that is truly where it is. But you build the systems to be able to do the thing that matters most, which is the in-person interactions to drive more business.
Yeah, and that kind of dovetails with a lot of kind of increasing prioritization of certainty, especially in this uncertain macroeconomic environment. Especially what the office market looks like in many cities. Mm-hmm. So I'm wondering how you, at the moment, you leverage a lot of these skills that you would discuss to keep your deal flows and leasing volumes predictable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think right now, and it's a very interesting, confusing, but fun time in a bunch of different asset classes, throughout the commercial real estate industry, and there's a lot of change that's happening over the last several years. But I think what really does help, and you kind of come back to the human element of everything. People are going to call the people that they know and like first and foremost, but you also have to be kind of the top person at what you do. That's another thing. So whenever there's like a fire sale or a huge challenge, they're going to call the best person at that thing. And so if they don't know how good you are at that thing, you can beat your chest and tell everybody about it, or they're definitely less, invasive, verbose ways of kind of saying, I'm a super talented practitioner. I'm also, your first go-to just because you like me. The balancing of those two things, you can get liked a lot, which is great, but you also have to be able to back it up. And, part of that in the middle is communicating the message that best amplifies your personal brand so that you're not only top of mind, but you can deliver. That's probably the most important thing.
Yeah. And so I'm sure a lot of people in the brokerage space are kind of viewing this from a similar perspective. But what do you think is an undervalued skill in real estate today? Given this
Uh,
people-centric nature.
I think follow-up's a challenge. I think transparency is a challenge. I think depth of talent is going to be a challenge. Really talent, like, the depth of talent in the sense of having bodies just in your office, kind of professional email forwarding. That's it. Is not a skill. We needed a lot more thoughtful practitioners, and we need to do a better job of bringing younger folks into this business. And there's actually been a lot more demand to get into commercial brokerage, at least in our market, which has been really good. But we need to do a better job of training that generation, setting the appropriate expectations, instilling the drive, and also giving them something to work for, and rewarding them handsomely whenever we all kind of win. Right? I don't think we've done a great job at that as an industry. But yeah, the lack of talent is a challenge, and the lack of responsiveness, the lack of like wanting to continue to learn and sharpen your axe and just continue to be better. We have a whole mindset shift, because it's been a challenging market for a couple of
Yeah.
years, and it's been tiring, and people are exhausted, and I get that. But the ones that push through that are going to win.
Yeah. Brokerage is very much the place to be.
Yeah, it certainly is.
Michael, it was a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you for taking the time.
Absolutely. Thanks, brother.